The following is a Complexity production.
1, 2, 3, Complexity!
This is the press conference, streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
Oh, you don't be serious, man!
You've got questions, we've got answers. And now, your hosts, Complexity.
Hello and welcome everybody back to the press conference. My name's Kim, I'm your host for today, and I'm excited to be back here with my lovely folks.
We're
Jason,
back.
Beef, and Soren. Back from his Europe adventures.
He's here.
There he is. He's back.
Yay.
Welcome.
He's been hiding in Europe.
That's true.
Anywho, lots of topics to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. We talked about it last week, and this week we have even better news to report. Clash Royale. We are now uncontested at the number 1 seat, 7-1.
Yes.
Jason, surely that must have been exciting to watch.
I mean, Clash is killing it. What do you think there, Beef?
I mean, 2 games ahead, 3 games ahead. I don't know what it is, but feeling good. I would say that the guys are certainly looking forward to the playoffs coming up in just over a week or so here, and looking forward toward what might happen in between the splits.
Yeah, I don't want to be inaccurate or jinx anything. I believe we're a lock for the Worlds. Top 3 from each region go to the Worlds. And I believe the way the playoffs are set up, we're already going to be at the Worlds. Am I wrong? I'm pretty confident.
I don't even know if WCG's announced, to be honest.
The Worlds?
I think it is.
I don't think that it's any secret.
All right. Well, there you go.
I've definitely
We're going to China, baby.
Definitely seen players tweet about it, so
All right,
it's
there we go.
not something that.
See, I was a little bit out of date there, but China, baby.
Yeah.
It's not Japan.
I believe it's a lock. I'm not 100% certain on that. But either way, the Clash team is playing great. Good lead in first place, and we're proud of them and excited for the rest of the season and hopefully the Worlds.
Yeah, I believe only 3 matches are left. We already played. I think we're actually our next match is against second place. SK Gaming overtook Pain Gaming in the second place now, and we're facing them next. So, or it's one of the opponents left anyway. But yeah,
They've been looking strong, so I mean that's going to be one of the harder matches.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of hard matches, Apex, they've had a little bit of a rougher week this time around, but still very admirable performance. Beef, they finished 7th in that week, and now unfortunately we dropped down to like the 6th overall in standing. But how the guys feeling?
Yeah, I mean I think they're still feeling confident. I think not having the full team together for a few days due to the internet issues, that was a little bit rough. So not quite having the perfect team chemistry there, but still a pretty admirable performance. Strong upper middle of the pack there with 7th. Really hoping that they're going to be able to kind of pull it back. I know that there's some importance to the midseason standings here and, of course, to the entire event. So hoping to see some really strong performances and maybe pull out a first one of these weeks.
Yeah. For anybody curious in these kind of types of games, I mean, the cool thing about this format is that they're all streaming their own perspectives too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you're ever curious how our team communicates and how they play, I mean, just stream it, and I think you'll really learn a lot about just team communication in general if you just listen to them.
Yeah, and with Season 2 of Apex being out now, some of the changes to some of the weapons like the P99, the addition to secondary ammunition rounds, all that kind of stuff. Even adding things like the energy LMG, the golden weapon. Man, I can't remember the name of it right now, but that thing looks absolutely awesome. So definitely a lot of cool things that we're going to see how it shakes up the pro scene and how our teams adapt to it.
Pro scene in Hearthstone has been pretty busy. I know you weren't here last week, but we did briefly mention the Masters in Las Vegas.
Well done.
He's got you, Soren.
Now that you're
He's
back,
got you.
though, I'm pretty sure you have a couple of thoughts on this. I mean, Tyler and Casey now also back home, already played their week of Grandmasters last week.
Back home for Casey.
yeah.
Tyler is not.
I know, but they already played their matches, went 1-on-1 this week. How did they feel, after that event? I know Tyler obviously was super sick, so.
And Tyler was sick. Tyler's also playing. He's staying in America for a little bit longer, visiting some friends in Vegas and in Texas, and so he has to play all his games at like 2 a.m.,
Right.
3 a.m., 4 a.m., roughly around that. So it's not the best thing for him right now, but he, as you said, he went 1-1. He's 6-4, and in total it's 4 games left of the season to get to the playoffs, and he's one off playoffs has a better tiebreaker than the third one if he ties the score. So it's looking really good. Casey felt a little bit underprepared this time, which is saying a lot for Casey. But he basically flew back and arrived in Amsterdam during the lock period. So he had to theory craft on the way back about his lineup, and he felt like he wanted to go in a little bit of riskier route. It paid off once, and then he had very bad draws against RDU, which is a very crucial matchup to lose because it was a direct competitor for the playoff spot. But he's still in it as well. He's 5-5 now. I think he's 2 off. But we'll see.
When are the playoffs roughly?
I mean, it's two more weeks of regular season and then the playoffs start, as far as I know. So they're in between Seoul. I think they kind of end this cycle because the next expansion comes out right before Seoul. So it's like the end of this card cycle, and then Seoul starts the new one.
Well, everybody stay tuned for that. Again, not to jinx anything, but Casey and Tyler are pretty strong competitors. So hopefully they make the playoffs. That'd be awesome. Would be awesome indeed. CS, not really big news, but 2 qualifiers are coming out.
Yeah, qualifiers are coming up. The biggest news is we finally got Rick in the country. He's really excited to be here. So now we have 4 players locally. Owen, aka Obo, is still up in Omaha. He's coming down in early July. And then we'll finally have 5 players in the same location, I believe for the first time this year, like training in our facilities. Maybe really early in the year we had 5 here, but I don't even recall anymore.
I don't think so.
Oh, no. We did have Jordan and Ricky here at some point. Oh, yeah, we had them for like 3 days. I think in preparation for iBet Power.
Okay, very briefly. Yeah, so we're excited to have everybody here. They're really grinding right now and working hard. Anytime you've got a newer roster like this, there's a lot that goes into the organization, and you got to go through each map and putting in a lot of time. Warden's got them really grinding. So, we're hoping to qualify for either IEM Chicago, IEM, or ESL1 New York, or both. I mean, both is always the goal. North America is an interesting place, especially online. There's teams that can come out of nowhere and just smack you upside the head at any time. So they're doing the best they can to prepare, and we'll see how it ends up.
Especially now at such a volatile time in the CS scene as well. A couple of roster changes already been made, and a couple of rosters in like disarray. So almost feels like we might be at an advantage because we had that out of the way like a couple of weeks ago already. Yeah. So hopefully coming up this week. So by the time I guess this podcast is out, probably first qualifier already over. I think Chicago is tomorrow and the ESL1 is on Thursday.
Yep. Sounds right. Speaking of 16-year-olds in Omaha, our good friend...
What a segue.
What kind of transition is that?
What a segue.
Okay, Obo's a 16-year-old this week. Right. By the way, happy birthday to Obo by the time this comes up. But we also have another 16-year-old in Omaha, Macwood, who qualified for the World Cup this weekend.
Right.
So
that's right.
Congratulations to Macwood
Fortnite.
And young Calc, the 14-year-old, his partner. So who would have thought that Macwood was actually the mature one in that duo?
Crazy.
With being the elder guy.
Yeah.
Nuts. But awesome to have all 3 of our Fortnite pros qualified for World Cup. Congratulations to everyone. Well done.
And it was a crazy
3 out of 3 in the World Cup.
It was a crazy qualifier too. He just won. They won 4 games out of like their. How many did they play? 10? 12? 10.
Yeah.
Punisher and Landjock also got 3rd on. I believe
West.
they were playing West.
West, yeah.
So they were just playing for cash. So ended up bringing home a decent cash prize pool for that. So congratulations to them, getting some good practice in. I know they're really excited. I mean, less than a month away at this point for the World Cup.
Crazy.
$30 million.
Woo! Who would have thought? Yeah, New York can't come soon enough.
Absolutely.
And then last topic on this docket, MTGA. We had 2 people out there, Amy and Elise.
Yeah. So Amy was competing. Alias was casting again. Amy didn't do as well this time as she did in Boston. They switched the format around, so it was Swiss rounds, not I think it was double.
It was double
time,
bracket,
right?
Yeah.
So she fell down pretty early in the Swiss rounds and then didn't recover. But talking to her, she wasn't really expecting that much. She got the invite very late. She just came back from a an extended vacation and wasn't really feeling the meta yet. So she wasn't really sad about it. Like, obviously, you want to do better as a competitor, but she used the time. She streamed a little bit from Vegas, dragged literally every pro player that just walked through into her stream and kind of let them play a game. So that was fun to watch. And Alias obviously kicked ass again.
She did.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She's a really good caster. I don't know a lot about MTG, but Alias can explain the game so well, and that's like
Eloquent.
Every other game I know stuff about. I might mute the casters, but in MTGA it's actually helping me, and she does such a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that I wanted to talk about, which it's not an official team, but I consider it an unofficial team of maybe the potential for the future.
It's going to be Auto Chess.
The battle arena, whatever the thing is called, auto battler genre, with Dota, Underlords, and the League of Legends knockoff, and the $1 million tournament from China.
Right.
I mean, what's going on here, man? Like, Skim? You've been playing it.
I'm putting in my application in 2 weeks. I'm preparing. I'm going to be a big boss in Underlord. That's the official rank. That's like the highest rank.
A big boss.
And then there's my application in your office.
I'm an upstart 3, I think.
I haven't played.
What?
I haven't played ranked.
Really?
Yeah, I have work to do.
Oh wow.
That's a shame.
Yikes.
Hey, at least somebody's working around here. Thanks, Dorian.
See, I've been playing it on my phone, which is pretty cool. Love it. Really excited. I mean, we talk about how many games in the modern esports genre came from mods. Counter-Strike, Team Fortress, League of Legends, Dota 2, Heroes of the Storm. I'm sure that there's others that I'm not even thinking of right now. But it's crazy, right? Like the amount of games that actually came from mods, and we could be witnessing the birth of another genre of games being born from a mod, and that's awesome.
And there's
Absolutely.
so many developers jumping on it too, and like Riot and Dota both have put in so much work in such a short amount of time on this. Valve was officially communicating with the community to make sure that everything's running smoothly with Underlords too.
Bruno's Twitter
like-
feed is on fire.
I've never seen it
not
active since like
seen him-
2014 or
Well,
something.
he was working on Artifact, and now Artifact's dead. So
It's
now
not dead. It gets rebuilt, redesigned.
Okay.
You keep telling me that.
Artifact
support.
is dead, bro. Like,
We'll see.
Underlords, however, is alive and well, and it has
Kick it.
Bruno at
I will
the
say
helm.
that Teamfight Tactics right now is probably the preferred game mode amongst I would call them a professional mostly because they're streamers and they're the ones
Yeah.
that draw
That's
the
the League
attention.
of Legends one, right?
That's
Yeah.
the League of Legends.
It looks really
version.
good.
It
It's
looks
the worst name I've ever heard.
It is a very awful name. I hate the
Dota Underlords.
I hate the
Teamfight
acronym.
Tactics.
Okay.
Anyway, just to keep this short, I think this is something that legitimately I think it's something that people need to keep track of.
100%.
Again, as you mentioned, there is a $1 million tournament.
Crazy.
And the mobile auto chess one. So
I mean, we were sitting there teaching Adam from our content team how to
Yeah.
play yesterday because he's looking at doing videos on it, and we're like, the entire office is over there just like judging him. Like, why is the Dragon Knight at the back? Like, why is the Slark up there not getting his stacks off? Come on,
I have no idea what he's talking about.
you gotta play it. It's on the phone. It's crazy.
I'm with Sore, man. I don't have time to play.
Mobile gaming. Mobile gaming.
I'm a big fan and believer in the future of mobile
There you
gaming.
go.
And one other thing I want to slide in before we get to the questions is we have a really interesting collaboration coming to our house this week. Recently, we announced our partnership with the Army and their BOSS program, which is simply put, is kind of looks after the soldier's lifestyle and comes alongside them to improve their life, while they're serving our country. And as part of that, we're having the first collaboration where they come to the GameStop Performance Center, our new home. So we're going to have roughly 20 soldiers that come and go through a little mini esports boot camp around Fortnite with coaching and activations and media training. Eat a bunch of meals together. They're going to be here for a few days at the end of the week. So keep an eye on our social for a live stream this weekend. And
a lot of
we're
content planned.
super honored and excited to have the Army guys in town this week.
It's gonna be sick.
As you mentioned, though, this does bring us now to the Q&A portion of the show. And as always, if you want to be part of this Q&A portion, send us a question. Discord, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, YouTube. Leave us a comment. Maybe even if you have any feedback for us, just hit us up. We're always open to suggestions. And use hashtag ColdPC if you do. First question from Phoenix Sniper, one of our fan elites from our Discord. I guess it's more towards Soren and Beef. Actually, no. This is also a good question for you, Jason. What do you think would be the best way to fix the Dota Pro scene to make it more attractive to more organizations? There's been a lot of discussion online about whether the current model is okay or not, and I'd like to hear everybody's take.
I mean, it's a really good question. It's a really big question.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean,
How much time do you have?
so I mean, fix. I like that he put the word "fix" the Dota Pro scene in quotes. You know, that's so we're not assuming that it needs fixing. To make it more attractive to more organizations, it's definitely a big topic, as many of the world's leading organizations just don't play in the Dota sandbox anymore. It's challenging, I think, on multiple levels, one of which is just the size of the prize pot. Make the organizations appear irrelevant in the players' eyes. Like, hey, if I go in a couple $1 million at one tournament, like at what point do I just focus, on shooting for that millions of dollars once a year and don't need all the accompanying support and media and things that come along with an organization? I think that it's an incredibly complicated, complex topic that I know both of these two are much more suited to speak to than I am. So I'll let them take a shot.
I have a lot of thoughts.
Go ahead.
I could do an entire podcast about specifically talking about this. I think that there's two ways of looking at this. There's talking about how do you fix the pro scene, and then there's how do you fix the game. And I think from a game perspective, you simply don't have enough new people coming into the genre. You have people that have been playing Dota 1 since 2006, like myself, that are now 31, 35 years old, 28, 27 at the oldest, but you have almost no people that are coming in at the younger side of that spectrum to actually grow the game. And as people are dying off in gamer speak, they're no longer playing the game, your viewer base, your fan base is declining. Two, the game is extremely popular in countries that do not have the desirability from a marketing standpoint. Eastern Europe and Southeast Asia, for North American and Western Europe audiences, the marketers don't care about those demographics as much, which means there's not as much money in organizations, in sponsors, in running events, because the majority of the eyeballs are in China, which you can't always market to because it's kind of an endemic audience, Southeast Asia, and Eastern Europe, which tend to not have as much disposable income, or they might be looking at a different category of products than the ones that a team like ours might be marketing, or an organization that's running an event might be trying to market as well. So I think that there's difficulties in that as well. And then I think on the pro side of things, I think there's two aspects as well. Dota is a very difficult community for outsiders to engage in. It's a very just kind of
Insular?
Yeah, I think insular would be a very good way to put it. They don't always want to play nice with others. They don't always want to welcome people and be inclusive, because it is such a hardcore game with such a high level of a learning curve. Everybody in there is kind of the same personality type, where it's like, oh, I'm going to be the best, I'm going to be the best, I'm going to be the best. And it generates these friction. It generates this toxic mentality that kind of, it just is throughout the entire community in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of really great individuals that are working towards fixing that, but it ends up creating, I saw a Reddit post today, it's like, hey, we bitch and complain and like make the biggest drama out of the smallest little things, such to the fact that when there are really important things that we do need to bitch and complain about so that we can affect change, nobody pays attention to us because we're just toxic all the time. And it's kind of true. Right? Like it's a little bit true. Two, like you said, the international generates kind of discord within the community to the extent that the traditional organizational model doesn't always work in the game. And it also leads to the high level of unprofessionalism that you see from both organizational side as well as player side, with people being kicked, people not treating their staff correctly, people signing into bad contracts or not having good faith contracts from the organizational side, because the organizations that have good history and that have solid foundations aren't always the one that are interested in giving players the power to make every decision. And that's in Dota. So you get your 5-10% cut, and you're lucky if you get a say in the roster moves. But in reality, when a team wants to come to you, they say you get your 5%. You get, maybe I'll listen to you on the roster moves, but I want the authority to make all the roster decisions, and you're just along for the ride. That's not always appealing to a lot of organizations.
Soren?
Well said.
I mean, there's very little to add. I just want to talk a little bit about the format since we're going to keep it for another year. And I always felt like the current format is very top heavy. You have a lot of money in the majors and not a lot of money in the minors. And I know that is a discussion that I had with people at the minor and at the major. Our good friend Kyle is a very big proponent of reshifting the money, of giving people of the lower level for the minor more money so they can actually make a career out of it.
More
And
incentive, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like this disconnect that you have your secret, you have your liquid, you have your EG that always go to the major, and you have minor teams that need to provide for visas, that need to provide for additional boot camps, that need to provide for like buffer zones if their visas don't come in. And at the end of the day, they are going to win maybe $10,000 at a minor, but they're out 15,000 in visas. So it's just not an incentive for them, and they might not have an organization that pays them well. So that is a big issue. I think that the lower, like the underbelly that I sometimes say, is just not taken care of right now. You're having a lot of care for the good teams, for the best teams. And right now we're seeing it again, like we're taking care of the top 8 basically perfectly, and they're always the same. It's 8 teams or 9 teams now are qualified for TI through DPC. And the 5th major, we're still having you take a top 6 and you're basically at TI, or you are at TI right now. Like it's just so top heavy with payment, with the way the points work out, that it's like very little incentive for a younger player to grind your way through the minor. It's much more appealing if you get the big offer from a big team to just jump on that and just leave your scene.
Great answers, guys. I'm pretty sure anybody that's listening feels like this. I mean, this is hitting home if you're in the Dota scene. So I think this is a great discussion. And as you mentioned, Beef, this could go on for hours. So
and there's a lot to it. And
yeah,
I just want to make sure that everybody understands we love Dota. Like we've been involved in the game for almost 9-10 years, going way back with a couple year break in there. I mean, hell, we had Merlini and Fear on the team back in 2007. Like that's 12 years ago. Like we love Dota, but there's no denying that there's issues in Dota like there are in any game. And I think that not talking about those issues is the worst thing that you can do if you want to see the game be the best that it can be.
So thanks for that question, Phoenix Sniper. And I think, again, this discussion will definitely go on for a long time. To everyone, he also asked, to everyone, if you could recommend one book you think everyone should read, what would it be?
What? I mean, please go first. I don't read that much.
Extreme Ownership by Jocko and Leif Babink and Extreme Ownership. Shout out to Kyle Friedman. He actually pointed this one out to me. I've had it pointed out to me by like 50 other people since then. I think a lot of the people on our staff have read it. I know that Scott's reading it right now.
That's the Marine one?
The Navy SEALs. So, I mean, it's really important. It's just talking about leadership styles and being able to take accountability for what you're doing, being a leader at every step, not necessarily just as a manager or a supervisor, but being a leader in your everyday life. And so I think it's a really good book.
Go ahead. Please bail me out here. See, I have a book that I really like, and that goes into like sports management and everything. But I'm not allowed I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this on the Cowboys airwaves because it's about the Patriots.
Sure.
It's called War Room. It's basically about how Bill Belichick and his staff kind of built this dynasty,
Yeah.
and it's an incredible look into like all the personnel decisions, into cutting rookies and cutting stars of like before their prime, or before the conventional wisdom said their prime was up, and it's a really good read. I just wasn't sure if I'm allowed to say it.
Of course you are. Of course you are. My recommendation would be the Bible. Even if you're not a believer, I think there's certain books in there, the wisdom books like Proverbs, are just mind-boggling. Even if you're not, believing on the religious side, you can learn an awful lot and save yourself from banging your head against a lot of brick walls.
Definitely. Next question from Oxy from our Discord. Out of, I guess, back to Dota. Out of RNG, Forward, Gambit, OG, and Alliance, who do you guys think are going to take the last 2 spots at TI?
Isn't Keen always also in there, or
He didn't mention it, I guess, but yeah.
it's 3
Keen.
spots, and Keen basically is like 20 points
Isn't
off
it
or
only
something.
2 now?
Yeah,
Because
Keen.
TNC took one?
No, TNC took the 9th one.
All right.
It's currently like Keen, OG, and I think
Ehome.
Ehome. Yeah, Ehome is going to lose it. Anyway, like Ehome is already out.
True, I guess.
Because Alliance plays RNG, and whoever
Right,
wins
is
that
already
takes it. Yeah.
pushing out Ehome.
So Keen has the best chances. That's probably why he didn't name it.
True.
OG kind of got bailed out today by their coach BDG to stay in the race.
No Tail's sick at the last major of the year to qualify for TI. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here and pass judgment on No Tail. Like, but dude, unless you like literally have body parts falling out of you.
I mean, he might have food poisoning. I saw
Yeah,
him
I know,
like 2
but it's
weeks
like,
ago at
wear
the
some
boot camp.
diapers.
He was fine. Dude.
It's the last thing to qualify
No,
for
his
a
point
30
is like
million
you better be
I understand-
really sick
I
to
understand
miss a
his
qualifier
point, but
like this.
I'm pretty sure he's very sick to miss it.
yeah,
I'm sure that he
assuming
is. I'm
yeah.
just, jeez, that's crazy. That sucks so bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you done, or can I, go?
I think OG Alliance and
Keen.
OJ Alliance and Keen.
I mean, I think Gambit can make a run, but I don't
No.
think how it works
Actually, in
out
front of home crowd.
mathematically. Sorry?
And they are playing in front of the home crowd.
Yeah,
It's true.
I think they're a really
No,
good team.
I'm just saying. That this,
I just don't know how it mathematically works
I'm
out.
stuck in a room full of Dota purists that want to talk about Dota the entire episode.
We got him now.
Apologies to Fortnite and
we
Counter
can't-
Strike fans.
We can't help it.
I love
but
Dota, but this is just
We
like
can't
on
help
another
it,
level.
man. The fans ask the fan questions, and we're just here to answer them.
That's true. You gotta answer the questions. That's the press conference.
So, who do I think is going to? I'm not going to answer that question. Who do I want to qualify? Alliance, because they're the homies, and Forward because it gives us a better chance at qualifying for TI.
Is it though?
There you
Does
go.
it? Yeah, it does, because then they are out of our bracket.
Doesn't it also just take out a team out of the
Nope.
What?
slots?
No,
not how it works
every
this year.
region has a slot. So whatever region gets qualifier like directly
If-
is out of the pool.
If Forward doesn't qualify, it's Forward, J-Storm, us, and every other NA team for 1 spot.
Is it guaranteed we only get 1 spot?
Yes.
Because mathematically you get 12 and then 6 regions.
All right.
They already
18
announced
teams.
it like at the end of last year.
Damn. Well, Forward, go
Forward.
Like, what do you think?
How about
I think I gotta finish a show and get back to work. You guys can hang out and talk Dota for the next 3 hours.
See this?
Stay tuned for our new Dota podcast every Tuesday.
We're going back to a CS question though, because Dr. Waldo wants to know how the team's feeling for Chicago for the IM Chicago qualifiers.
I mean, I think they're really hopeful. They're working very hard. Early indications are I think this team's got a ton of potential. We just got a lot to work through and a little time to do it. So it'll be interesting to see how we do.
Show Nation Co from Discord wants to know thoughts on the stance NCAA has on the proposed California bill and the ramifications it could have on collegiate esports scene.
I don't know.
I read up on what it is. I just don't.
I'm glad.
I
I've
just
been so slammed.
I
I
just
don't even know what
don't-
this is
I've been in
referring to.
back-to-back meetings since
So I'm gonna
7 days ago.
Yeah, we're separating this. I'm gonna give you the California bill, and then you can answer the question.
All right.
So basically,
Movie magic.
So what? So what California proposed, or what passed the
Sorry.
state legislator, is that colleges are now allowed, or college students are allowed to get money from marketing the likeness and everything, starting in 2023. So it passed the Senate. It's currently going through like the last steps, and California is basically set on passing this law for their state. And obviously, the NCAA stance is that college athletes cannot be paid, and so the threat of the NCAA is to ban every California school, include like basically all Pac-12 schools, all UCLA, whatever, because it creates a recruiting advantage for them.
That's
if,
true.
If you go to California, you can get paid, so everyone would go to California
Yeah.
schools, and they cannot host championships anymore on a level playing field. That's basically the concern of the NCAA and the bill. So go nuts
I
on the
mean-
esports side.
Well, I mean, here's the stance then, NCAA. Just let everybody get paid. I mean, that's just let everybody get their money.
I think that's what's eventually going to happen.
It has to, right?
There's way too much momentum and pressure that direction. Seeing young athletes, basically get very little to nothing, and then if they get injured, their pro career is gone. And anyway, you could discuss. Remember that show Ballers on HBO?
Yes.
Like, there was a
I love
whole
Ballers.
thing about that. It's like you can go on and on. As far as esports, the more the NCAA moves towards allowing endorsements and things like that, it's only going to help esports because that's kind of what we do, right? So
Yeah.
if you're going, say you're a talented gamer and your option is to like represent your local university that you attend, or just go independent and like get your stream going, shoot for a pro team, like, you know, make money because you love it. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to probably go for the money unless you're really hardcore,
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
it's-
like into your university. It's like, why would I go there for free when I can use the exact same skill set outside my university? I think it dissuades people from representing their universities. So yeah, I think that's the direction it'll go, and I think that's a good thing for esports.
All right, and then his last question is, how do you go about evaluating talent? Like putting a dollar amount to the skills, like using stats or market rate? Do you pay for what they do in the past or pay for what they're going to do in the future? You know, how do we...
The answer is yes.
Yeah, pretty much. That's an inclusive or yes.
You answer your own question. I mean, evaluating talent's definitely an art form. It's not a science. We have a lot of statistical data, but especially when players are younger or newer or haven't been in more sophisticated pro leagues, the stats are always, you know, you can't really trust them 100%. So it's just a lot of gut. Like, obviously, our most recent example is Obo. Warden, our coach, and other people that will follow Counter-Strike felt very strongly he was going to be something special. And, you know, he's only been to one LAN event, but he did really well, and we're really optimistic about his future. As far as the dollar amount on their skills, it is really like, how good are you within your game? What are kind of the current market rates? You know, we like to take care of our players, but we also have to run, you know, a business and run one in a responsible way. So do you pay what they've done in the past or pay what they're going to do in the future? I mean, it's like real sport, traditional sports, right? It's like, yeah, you get paid a little bit on your past, but that comes to an end at some point when people think you got a great past, but you're a year away from retirement. I'm not going to pay you much. So it's always a mix. What have you proven? What have you done in the past? And what do we think you're capable of in the future? So, yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think my thought specifically on that past and future part is like what you've done in the past influences what you're likely to do in the future.
Yep.
So there's, from the performance side, that's how you evaluate it. What you've done in the past also influences your brand value. So you're evaluating it from that point as well if you're considering brand value in an acquisition. But this is one of the areas that we're looking to make improvements. And I think if you've watched the most recent groundbreaking episode on performance, you've seen some of the stuff that we're doing over at Baylor Scott and White, trying to take qualitative data, which is Jason, Soren, myself, taking a look at a player and saying, hey, that guy's pretty good. And instead taking that and making it quantitative data, saying, oh, wow, his peripheral vision score is a 97, and his reaction time and his target scan and all these other things, they're really high in the criteria that we have for an opera in CSGO. We say, this is a guy we should look at as an opera in CSGO. We're trying to assign numbers to different things that are going to be able to predict what a good player looks like in a specific game and in a specific role, and then be able to narrow it down and say, quantitatively, this is what makes up a good player most likely. And then you go from there. That's what we're working on.
Oh,
Great point.
I believe that should answer his question. And that wraps up this week's show. Thanks, everybody, for listening in.
Thanks very much for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comments. We appreciate it. See you next week.